Okay. Hey guys, welcome back to Tell Your Story. Tonight I've got a really great guest. We all the way from Rochester, New York. We have Kyle, who is on YouTube under the Sober Dogs. So I'm gonna let Kyle have the floor here. What's up, man? What's going on?
What's going on, guys? Thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it. That sounded great, all the way from Rochester, New York.
Man, I sound like a commercial. I did, but what we're excited about is, part of Tell Your Story's vision is that we get to tell or listen to and be a part of stories of other people who talk about their sobriety and how they got there. And so tonight, I'm super excited to do this collaboration. I've been nervous all day about it, but this is our first real YouTube collaboration, guys. And, Kyle has a really big presence online telling and talking about sobriety and what life is worth living when you're off of, mind-changing substances. So, Kyle, if you get a chance, let us know your story. Tell us, about your sobriety date, where you came from and where you are now.
Of course. Well, I appreciate that. Thank you very much. That's a powerful introduction. And what you said too about like life without mind altering substances is that accurate, because my biggest fear for so long was I would get sober and be miserable. That was it. But I would do it anyway. I would say I'd get sober for friends and family, but I'd be miserable. And that has been the furthest from the truth. The fact is, as we were, talking about earlier, during addiction is all when I was asleep. Like you said, you said it perfect. I wasn't there. I was just existing as a shell of a person, miserable. For me, I have a great family, great upbringing. Neither of my parents are in the addiction, alcoholism, anything. And it was all basically internal fear and pressure I had on myself. I did well in school. I did well in sports. I played football, but I was never where I was. I was either always thinking ahead, nervous about what was going on, or not that I didn't relate to the people around me. I was friends with pretty much everybody, but I just didn't feel a part of for some reason. And excuse me, that pressure and anxiety, just the first time I was able to drink, I loved it because it was something that got my head. And I thought, like, this is it. I have found the thing. Now I know why parents come home and have their glass of wine. Now I know this is what I could do every day for the rest of my life to quiet anxiety. And it was 13 years old is when I started. And after that, I didn't jump right into daily use or anything, but once the floodgates opened, it opened up a lot. Because of sports, I, kept a good kind of cap on a lot of things. Other harder drugs came around, and no, I would never touch that. I'm never going to touch cigarettes. I got to keep my lungs great for football, things like that. But as alcohol kind of got, drank more and more, I was open and willing to try new things. I'd get messed up, drunk, and then Coke would be available, ecstasy, shrooms, whatever. And I'd say, screw it. If this gets me out of my head, why not try that? And it slowly started to escalate more and more. But on the outside, things looked well. I did very well, in sports, and I got my grades up because I did that because I knew it was the right thing to do. And, I loved football. But I also knew that when I do that stuff, I keep people off my back. I keep teachers off my back, my parents. When grades are up and football's going well, no one bothers me, so I can get messed up, every weekend or however often I have the ability to. I did have a lot of consequences during my addiction and use. 16, I got a DWI, and they took my license for 18 months. That was the best thing that could have happened to my alcoholism. After that, I used that as an excuse for the next 18 months. The guys would be standing around. Who's going to drive tonight? I can't. sitting there just chugging away. Nope, can't be me. You guys know I can't. And just that was like, it was a understanding every weekend with like my group of buddies. There was like 7 or 8 of us. Like I'd already be tanked before we even met up because I just never had to drive. And it really escalated my alcoholism. At the same time, I started to get some concussions in football, and they weren't terrible at the time. I got a couple in high school, but I never told the truth to the coaches, the trainers and stuff, because I always, I got to get back on the field quick and I got to be a tough guy and this and that. So I just never let them heal properly. I ended up going to college and playing football in Pennsylvania and getting more concussions because of not letting the initial ones heal and getting more and, just the whole snowball effect. It really, they started to pile up with a lot of outside, repercussions, just the post-concussive symptoms, changing of mood, a lot of anger, hostility. And then my way of dealing with all of it is substances, alcohol, drugs, whatever. I had to stop playing football my second year in college because of the concussions. I chose to stop playing. And that was my identity for a while. So now I'm just like, I have all this time on my hands without practice. I live with 4 football players. They're gone all day at practice. I feel empty, alone. I'm freaking out in my head. I'm having all these symptoms. I did what I knew best, what I knew how to do to cope, drugs and alcohol. I also at the time got a prescription from a doctor for I had some serious neck pain because of that. So I'm starting to take painkillers, taking it with alcohol. And that really transitioned a lot of stuff down the opioid wagon. The next, the rest of the couple years of college and the couple years after was just steady progression of addiction. Going from Percocet 5 milligrams, by the end of the 5 or 6 years, daily hooked on Oxy, multiple of them a day, need it, or else, I'm in serious withdrawals. I tried the geographical cure. A couple of my college buddies were living in Baltimore, selling life insurance. So I figured I can go there and, they were good. They were like good buddies from college. They drank, but they didn't do anything else. So we assumed that was all right. Went there and basically substituted addiction for work. We worked like 80 hours a week, door to door, selling life insurance. That, of course, at least for me, was not the answer, and came to a combination of like pressure and just overworked and miserable, like dry drunk, so to speak, not working any program. And, I just started navigating my way in the Baltimore drug scene and using heroin down there because the pills were expensive. So I transitioned to heroin. I'd done it before snorting it, but not IV. And because of financial, I jumped to IV. And New Year's Eve in Baltimore, 2012, I was supposed to be the DD. And we went out to like all you could drink bar, and I was sober. This girl came up and she's like, you guys, you could sleep in my house. We're right down the street. And so I was like, oh great, I don't have to drive. So I went up to the bartender. We already paid to get in, and I'm like, don't stop, tequila until whatever. And I woke up the next day in the hospital. It's like 4 p.m. I'm naked. I'm strapped down. I got a catheter in, and the nurse is calling me Nemo. And I'm like, what happened? What are you talking about? So apparently I fell off the harbor about 30 feet down, hit my head, went in the water. It was frozen pretty much from it's the middle of January in Baltimore. They like airlifted me out. I don't remember any of it. And
she's calling you though.
Yeah. And it's like that is, just the insanity. From 11:29, I'm dead sober. 11:55, I am in a different continent, blacked out, drunk, just a different wavelength. Because that's just what I did. There's no like sip or have a drink, or I don't know, like my brain didn't comprehend that. It's like, I'm sober, need to get drunk. I moved back to Rochester right after that event, and I was going to try to just cold turkey the heroin, tell my parents I had the flu. That didn't work. And the next couple months were just a disaster of addiction. I got arrested in May of 2013 for, just robbing and stealing anything and everything I could. And was sent to prison here in New York, did 3.5 years in prison, and nothing changed. I got high almost daily in prison. And that got me in a lot of trouble in there, specifically solitary. Almost a year to the day of going to prison, I failed my first drug test and got sentenced to 30 days in solitary. From that, I didn't even make it 2 days in solitary, got in more trouble, got another 30 days added on. Then on day 29, got in more trouble and got 3 more months added on. So I turned 30 days into 5 months. And out of the next 2 years, the last of my prison term, I did 12 months and 25 days of it in solitary, all from drug use and failing drug tests and having drugs and getting high. And I just couldn't stop. It was this unique thing that solitary to me was the most is hell. Just if you said what's hell, that would be where I would go. It was pure hell. By day 2 or 3, I'm trying to sharpen my fork into a knife to kill myself. And yet the second I would get out, the only way I knew how to cope to deal with the last 5 months of insanity and isolation was drugs. It was either like kill myself or get high. And I go back to the drugs, which then got me in trouble and sent me back there. And it was this like insane cycle. Got through that. And when I got out, I got in a little bit more trouble, went back to what they have like a prison boot camp type situation in New York, and got sentenced to that because I got violated on parole. When I was back in that time, something changed. I had a phone call with my parents. It was just I never heard their tone of voice like that. They knew I was going to be dead very soon. And they were like, I don't know. It was like they were talking to a brick wall almost. And it's like they're just trying to detach because they know like we're going to be having your funeral very soon. Something about that, the boot camp, which most guys hate, I liked because I needed it, structure. It all just kicked in a little bit. And then at the end of that boot camp, two guys came to speak from AA, and I just connected with one of them. Like, he was smiling. He had been where I was prior. He wasn't a guard or a counselor telling me what to do. He was just a normal guy who had been here and now is out there in his city. And I really wanted to try something different. And I got out and I started hitting 12 steps. And I definitely would not say it's easy, but it was simple. Go to a meeting, listen to what the older people who've been there say, and do something different, do everything different. If you put your socks on right to left, do left to right, just do it different. And I just started doing that, little things at a time, weird to me, a little bit uncomfortable, talking to another man I didn't know that well about some of these deep internal issues and crazy thinking and all that stuff, the ego. But every time I did it, I felt better. And every time I spoke up or talked to somebody, I felt better. And then all of a sudden, the outside things in life are getting better. Relationships are getting better. You mentioned it earlier about like living life prior to sobriety and after, and like prior is like your sleep. My biggest fear was I'd get sober and I would be miserable. And that was so wrong. It was I got sober and like, I enjoyed stuff. I appreciated things. Going to, you know, kayaking with my mom, whatever. And it was like, I really just started to embrace it. My pocket, get my job back. All these things were slowly coming. And I noticed it all came from kind of inside. The more I did inside and work a good and healthy program, the more everything else outside. And to me, since then, it's just been an incredible journey. And I saw some friends' parents at the supermarket, and, you know, they're like, how you doing? Right when I got out. And, you know, they're telling me about their son. They're like, oh, you know, he's doing great. He's married. He's got a great week sober. Just got
Looks like
out of
we're cutting out a
prison,
little bit.
freaking out. But I want to lie to him, but I didn't want to tell him that. Like, oh, I'm having heroin cravings, losing my mind, living with my parents. But what that did is it planted a seed, though, about I wanted to tell my story and get it out there. And I knew it would help me for sure, be comfortable with it, but then hopefully help others too. And that's where the concept of Sober Dogs came in. I'm a huge animal lover. And then a couple months later, I just decided to start putting some videos and sharing. And that's where Sober Dogs started, and been doing that ever since, along with working, you know, a 12-step program and just having a great life.
You know,
So
if you had,
that's where I'm at today.
if you had a piece of advice that you wanted to share with maybe say somebody that's new into a program, or maybe somebody that just wants to find that level of sobriety that you have, let's say that person is at the beginning, you know, and they're just really craving a change, you know, what might you tell that person?
My biggest piece of advice, if I could, would be follow and listen to people you would like to be like in the program, whatever program it is, 12-step or not. You know, somebody you see as living or doing things that you would like to have or live one day. Pick their brain, follow their steps, and then at the same part of that is I always say break everything down. Overwhelmed, trying to do it all at once, rebuild taxes and finances and relationships and job. So I would just say, like, break it down. What can you do today? What's the next right decision you could do today? And if you make today a good day, and then hopefully tomorrow you follow the same thing, it all builds on top of each other. But trying to do it all at once will usually just creates an overwhelming effect. So just do the best you can do today with each little drop or decision, and then tomorrow follow that lead.
That's awesome. What a great piece of advice. Well, you know, one thing I just want to reflect is that, yeah, I really appreciate, you know, your vision that you're putting out there. You know, I think that YouTube gets a bad rep because they pay the most attention to the people that do the dumbest things. And, you know, but what your vision is and what Sober Dogs means is, in my eyes, from an outside point of view, is somebody's trying to share a message of hope and sobriety and that life is worth living. So, you know, from Corey and I, sorry, we had some problems with the cats picking at the door, so she left the room for just a second, but wanted to let you know that we really appreciate.
Oh, it's all good.
We really appreciate your time. And thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to listen to another story of sobriety.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. And, you know, same back to you guys. I see all the awesome stuff you're doing on your channel. And I love too how you get into the stuff that a lot of people want to talk about. I was just watching one, like, thoughts in sobriety that maybe I shouldn't have, of like looking at somebody who's in and out and in and out, and it's like, it's okay, but you got to deal with it and, you know, learn how to not judge them. We were there, so to speak. Yeah. And I just, that's awesome too. And it's so good to connect with awesome people. I got 2 cats too, so they haven't messed me up at all. I haven't knocked any wires over, but
we don't let them in the room. We also have 2 cats, and they're in the other room. They're both calico. Hey, give us a plug. Give us all your all your connections.
Sure. I'm pretty much Sober Dogs everywhere. Wherever you check online, Facebook, Instagram, or I'm sorry, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Instagram is the one. It's Sober Dogs, the number 2. Just because somebody already took Sober Dogs. So, but I've really been focusing on YouTube and trying to build that one up lately. So, yeah, just type it in. It should be the first one to pop up.
That's super cool.
Very cool.
We're going to leave a link down below, guys, to the Sober Dogs channel on YouTube. We'll also leave probably a couple more links to say, you know, the National Addiction Hotline and whatnot. Really appreciate everybody coming out for this video, and hopefully we'll have another one tomorrow. We might have another interview tomorrow with someone
we'll have a
local.
big one next week.
And a big one next week. Yeah, Corey, next week we'll hit 1,000 days sober. So that's going to be a big one too. Yeah.
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 Thank you guys again. And that's all we got for today. So we'll see you in the next one.